So good evening, parishioners. Father Jamin here. We decided that we would start doing some electronic media with you all so that we can continue to retain some connection with you in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic that's around us. I'm sure many of you have been struggling, as I have, as most of our staff and other parishioners have, trying to find out exactly what is the blessing in the midst of this pandemic. I'm sure we're all coming to grips with the new reality that lie before us, at least for the next several weeks, and perhaps not longer. I've asked the same question in my life too. How can I find light in the midst of the darkness? Where is our light in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic? So for the past 48 hours, I've done what I typically do in the midst of all of these disasters. Listen. And who have I been listening to? Well, specifically, I've been listening to you. I've been listening to all the phone calls that have been coming in the parish and the struggles and the concerns that you're all facing. I've heard from family members and friends who specifically tried to go to the hospital or the nursing home to visit one of their loved ones. And while they're there, they realize that they don't have the opportunity to comfort them very personally with physical contact. I've heard the various cries of all of you who are experiencing the paralysis that comes from the fear of the unknown, not knowing what school or work is going to look like, not really knowing what the next announcement is going to be and how that's going to continue to affect where we are in our current situation. I've heard the shock of the brides and the grooms trying to realize that their Pollyanna-type wedding isn't going to be so fairy tale-like, that the reality of marital life is setting in and it's starting right with their ceremony as we have to deal with the new norms that have come before us. That's the darkness, that's the shadow that's all around us. But in the middle of all this, I've heard about the light too. I've heard about your hunger, about your yearning for the different sacraments of the church, specifically the Eucharist, in a time that we've been asked to really curtail how we receive the sacraments every day. I've heard about those times that you've had to slow down, the times that you've been forced to listen to the world around you, listening to less traffic, less pollution, listening to the birds chirping outside of the windows. I've heard your excitement too that comes from not knowing what we're going to do at St. Margaret and how we're going to respond to this particular crisis that lay before us. That's what I want us to focus on. I want us to focus on the light that's before us. So using the bishop's directives, which by now inevitably you've seen in the news, you've read on our website, our Facebook page, and listening to the wisdom of our local, our state, and our federal officials, I want to talk about a couple of creative things that my staff, Father Brad and I, are coming up with so that we can bring the church now finally to you. But first things first, another reflection of mine, I think. I've always found in the midst of disaster, the church is really that rock that's in the storm. It's the calm that we can turn to in times of storminess in our life. And really, I think that the physical church, the building itself, is the manifestation of what church means to each and every one of us. So to that end, we will be opening the physical church building, the Parish Church of St. Margaret. And we'll do that every Tuesday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. so that you can have a place to experience a little bit of calm in the midst of the storms that are all around you. Remember that we're opening the building simply as a place for you to come and experience private prayer. It's not a place of communal prayer right now. And we ask you that while you're there, you observe an attitude of silence and reverence and observe the new cultural norm of social distancing, especially if you find yourself in the church with more than one of your parishioners at a given time. Secondly, a beacon of light for sure. While you can't join us physically for Mass, Father Brad and I have committed that we will be recording Mass for you at St. Margaret so that you can participate at least remotely and receive spiritual communion, the graces that come from watching this particular Mass online. We'll celebrate the Mass according to our own schedule. You know the place. We're not going to tell you the time, so you won't be tempted to at least show up. And then from there, we will be broadcasting it on our social media platforms, our website, our Facebook page. Our commitment is to attempt to make daily Masses available by 10 a.m. in the morning and to make the Sunday Mass available sometime late on Saturday evening. Also, I've asked our staff to work with our pastoral council, all of our ministry chairs, to provide videos and other electronic resources and interfaces that we're going to work on right here in our very office space within our church, so that you can still have access to St. Margaret, to all of her many ministries, even if you can't be here physically in person because of the new norms that are really around us right now. And more information about those particular details will be forthcoming. You know, if you watch the news and you keep getting bombarded with it over and over again, you hear the updates, you listen to the various statistics, it could feel like you're really living in a world of darkness right now. But I think though, even despite the current inconveniences that we face, we can be a light shining in the midst of that darkness. You'll see. Have faith, have a little bit of hope, and know that we're here with you and that we love you all.